Hi everyone, welcome to Girl in the Green Wellies, and this is plot walkthrough number 4. So it's the end of September. We've had a lovely summer. We've managed to get loads of produce from the allotment, but as with many people, we are now back fully into the swing of school and work, which means that we haven't been able to really spend as much time at the allotment as we did do over the summer. And we've come down today and it absolutely shows that we haven't been here for a while. Looking at the plot which I'm going to take you through at the moment, it's a far cry from the nice, neat, productive plot that we had in the summer, but part of this YouTube channel is to show you the allotment as it is. When we come down to film, we don't do any tidy up before you see it. So the allotment that you see today is a true representation of the allotment as it is in our lives. So without further ado, let's go and we'll have a look around. So the pond area was one part of the allotment I really wanted to work on this year. Over the summer it was doing really well. We've got newts in there, but as we've come down today, it's looking a little bit sorry for itself. Now there's a little bit of a film on top of the water and the leaves have started to drop in. So one of the jobs that we've got to do today is to net the pond to try and make sure that the leaves from the cherry tree don't drop in, because they will rot at the bottom of the water and it won't do anything for the pond health. And if you do want to check out some of our top tips for the prep that we've got for the winter, check out the link above. Netting the pond is one of those jobs, and so that's what we've got to do today. Other than the water quality not looking too good, the rest of the plants in there are looking okay. So we're going to clear that up a little bit, get out as many leaves as we can. We'll top it up with water and we'll see how we are in a couple of days. And moving round to this part of the allotment, which is Andy's corner. He does have a lot of work to do today. So the plan for this area is now to trim down all the overgrown weeds, or native plants that we like to call them. Overall, the long-term plan for this area we've decided is to make this into a mini fruit orchard. So the pot fruit trees that we've got further down in the allotment, the plan is to rehome them actually into the ground in this area to go alongside the raspberries and the bay tree as well, and hopefully this will be a really good area to keep producing into autumn next year. So this is one area we're going to be keeping our eye on, and we're going to hopefully rejuvenate this over the next 12 months. So this part of Andy's corner, we had some miniature or mini cucumbers, and we've planted some autumn fruit and raspberries. Now I've just come down to have a little look to see about pulling them out actually, because I thought that they were all done, but much to my delight we do still have, let's see if I can get it, a fantastic mini cucumber. I had no idea these would continue to produce so late into September, but yeah, that's a really good find. And the last thing I'm going to show you in this area is the only solo raspberry. Here it is, picked, the smallest raspberry probably in the world, but it's the first one and I bet it's the best. So the first thing I'm going to show you on the walkthrough today are the tomatoes. Now I don't think I'm the only person in the country to have had their tomatoes affected by the late blight. Now if you've never seen what late blight looks like on tomatoes, I'm going to show you. On the stems here, you can see the stems have gone all black and brown, and the leaves are looking all kind of shriveled up, and it just doesn't look in very good health. What I'm noticed as well is that some of the tomatoes are starting to look like they've got blight too, and with these ones I wanted to try and leave them in the ground as long as possible because I wanted them to go red, and unfortunately for whatever reason, whether it's just the type of summer that we've had and then being outside, they haven't gone red at all, they're just still green. So what I'm going to do is to minimise the effect of the blight, I'm going to take them all off now, and I'm going to get the tomato plants out because I don't want the blight to stay on the plot. So I'm going to come in and have a look at some of the tomatoes. So I'm going to start taking some of the trusses off now. Now this truss here, you can see where the blight has got to that tomato there. So on the tomatoes, that is blight, and that's not good. So one of the jobs I've got today then is to assess all the tomatoes that we've got and try and rescue as many tomatoes that we can. Hopefully we'll be able to take some home with us, but we'll see how it goes. The purple sprouting broccoli, on the other hand, it's doing all right. The job that I've got to do for this one is obviously to lift the net to make sure that the leaves aren't actually touching it, because this will continue to grow over the winter. So this is the allotment as it looks at the end of September, and this is the bit I was talking about seeing the allotment in its end of season glory. You can see it's a little bit untidy, there's leaves and things all the way along there now, so we do have a little bit of work to do. This area here is where the potatoes were over the summer. This next year is going to be our garlic and onion plot. So we're just keeping it covered now just to make sure the weeds stay down. We'll give it a top up of compost, and at the end of October we will be planting the garlic and some overwintering shallots in here. The nasturtiums, however, are still going really well, and what I'm going to do in the next week or two is actually make a nasturtium pesto from the leaves. So if we get in here, I just want to make sure I'm not going to stand on too many of them. The leaves are actually really peppery, so they will make a really nice tangy nasturtium pesto to go with pasta or courgettes. If you spiralise it and make it into courgette, that's a really nice way to use it. What I will show you though is another part of the nasturtium plant that you can use, the seed pods. So if you come on in, these are the nasturtium seed pods. So the seed pods, you can use and pickle them and use them like capers, and they are really delicious, something that I'm definitely going to do. And one of the reasons why nasturtiums are so prolific is because of these seed pods. If you leave them attached to the plant, they will just self-seed and you'll get loads more nasturtium plants next year. However, because they sprawl, you will get nasturtium plants absolutely everywhere on your allotment. So what I prefer to do is actually try and snap the seed pods off now, save them and let them dry, and I can then plant them in the spring exactly where I want them. So let's go ahead and we'll start snapping off some of these seed pods. So you can see they just grow on vines like this, and you get a couple of seed heads. That one's dropped off already, but you get a couple of seed heads per little vine. So if we just pull these off, you can see the seeds themselves, they look a little bit like little brains, but the seeds themselves are a good size. So these ones, while they're green, will be really good for pickling. If you leave them, they'll turn brown and dry, and at that point you can store them and use them to make more nasturtium plants in the summer. Now, as you might have seen, the flowers themselves are really pretty too. These are also edible. The bees absolutely love them, and it's great for making sure that you get all your plants pollinated, because the bees will come and they'll use these. You can also take these home and use them to spruce up your salads. So moving down from the nasturtiums into probably what is the sorriest part of the allotment. The sweet corn didn't really produce, so they're all going to come out today. The courgettes down at the bottom were okay, got a couple of courgettes from them, but for some reason they just did not produce as many as the other courgettes did, so note to self for next year. The peas that we had in the spring and early summer, they are all going to come out today, and the only thing I'm going to leave really in this area is going to be the kohlrabi at the front. So coming further down into the allotment, we come to the courgette patch. Now this has been really good over the summer and winter. Oh, here comes Jacob. Hello Jacob, making his YouTube debut. We've brought him down today because we do have a lot of work to do, and like we like to say, many hands make light work. So the courgettes down here have done really well. There's actually a few still on there. So these will be coming off today as well, and we'll be using them in our tea tonight. But as you can see, the leaves are now got some powdery mildew on, so these are all going to come out too. So behind the courgettes, we've actually got some beans. They've been pretty much neglected over the summer, but there's still a few there. I did actually plant these thinking that they were climbing beans, but they turned out they were a dwarf variety, so that's why the massive poles are there and the beans are all really quite low to the ground. But that's that plot area done. Moving on, we come to the brassica cage. So in the front here we've got some kale, which is looking a little bit nibbled, but that's okay. We'll take off the outer leaves and the inside will continue to grow, and we can take cuttings from each of those plants with us as well. The Brussels sprouts in the middle are doing really, really well. And what I do want to show you, and I'll bring you around in a second, is I'll show you the cauliflower. Now, I've always struggled to grow cauliflower, so I am thrilled and delighted at what you're about to see. Come and have a look and see what I've found. A marvellous bowl of cauliflower. I've decided I'm going to leave it exactly where it is, but to make sure that the inside stays white, what I'm going to do is I'm going to gather the leaves over the top of that bowl, and I'm going to just tie it at the top just loosely to make sure that no sunlight gets to it, and that should keep the cauliflower nice and white. So here we are at the strawberry patch. About 6 weeks ago, I noticed that the established plants were throwing out runners, which would make new plants. So what I decided to do is next year I'm going to expand the strawberry patch but use the runners to cultivate and make more plants. Now, there's a video that we did to show you how to use strawberry runners to propagate new plants. If you want to see that, check out the link above. But looking at the plots that we've got there, it looks like the runners are actually really well established now. So while we're here, I'm just going to show you what the next step would be. So here we are. We've got our strawberry runner in the pot. And you can see it's got another runner coming off there, but that's not the one we're using. This one here is now well established. It's got nice green leaves on there. The stem, or the runner, it's got a dark brown colour, so that to me now says that it's ready to be separated from the parent plant. So all we're going to do is just carefully snip. So that plant now is its very own new little strawberry plant. All I'm going to do with this is take it to the greenhouse. I'm going to give it a water, just going to tidy it up a little bit, and that will just stay in the greenhouse over the winter, and in the spring I'll plant that and hopefully it'll establish exactly where I want it and give us some nice strawberries. So moving down through the allotment, we are pretty much there for the season. Going past Luke's patch, he got a few peas off his little pea arch, which was great. The sunflowers just got absolutely ravaged by the slugs and the snails, so they haven't done very well this year, unfortunately. But the herbs that he's planted are actually still going and still thriving. We love mint with the potatoes. We've actually still got some potatoes from the summer to use, so we might take some of that home. But we'll get Luke down and he can have a little tidy up of his area. I think it's really good for youngsters to get involved, not just with the pretty stuff and plan it all out, but maintaining it, keeping on top of it, and actually planning what you want to grow for next year, because now is the time to start getting some seeds and making a little plan for what you want to grow. So let's come on down past more nasturtiums and we're into the garden area. So here we have the fruit trees. Now, because these are grafted, what I'm going to do before we start moving them up is just look at the plants themselves, look at the stems and work out which part of the tree and the fruit tree is actually the fruiting part and which is from the graft. Any stems coming up from the bottom will be from the lower part, which we don't want. So we want all the energy to go into the part of the fruit tree that's going to produce next year. So that's another job. It's a never-ending list of jobs to do. So moving through, the tomatoes that we had in the hanging baskets were really, really nice. I've never grown hanging basket tomatoes before, but I absolutely will do them again. They stayed nice and fresh. They ripened, which was a plus compared to the other ones that we had in the open ground. And these ones, which were Cumberland Tigers, were really sweet, super delicious. So I highly recommend those. These were the grow bag tomatoes. Again, you can see the blight on the stems. We did actually take the tomatoes off these a lot sooner. So these are actually ripening at home. So fingers crossed they turn red soon. Otherwise it'll be green tomato chutney for Christmas. The last thing I'm just going to talk to you about is the little herb planter over here. We've got the curry plant, which is going really, really well. And in front of that, we've got the sweet potatoes. Now, the sweet potatoes, I'm going to actually tip one of the bags out. I've never grown them before. These were a bit of an experiment, but today I'm going to tip one of the bags out and just see how we go. We've got another bag with 3 plants in. I'm a little bit of an eager beaver with these. I want to see how they're doing, and I don't know whether they're ready yet or not. I think they might have another couple of weeks, but we're going to test that out. Last but not least is the flower patch. This area in the spring this year I had filled with tulips and it looked fantastic. So that's what I'm going to do again next year. So now's the time to start thinking about what bulbs we're going to get, what types of tulips I'm going to plant. So all the plants that I've had in here over the summer are all going to come out. We're going to plant about 200 tulip bulbs in this particular area, so that in the spring they will come up and provide a great spot of colour. That's the last job that we're going to do. We are going to be full of busy over the next couple of weeks. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, if you like the videos, give us a big thumbs up, subscribe on the link below, and we'll see you on the next one. And that's it. That plant will now... Oh, it's a wasp!